Jonathan, we are live,
All
and
right.
I'm amazed that I'm actually getting that down to like 40 seconds because I have to wait for it to go live on my Facebook page and then publish it before people can see it.
Oh, okay.
So here we are, live and in my
Yeah.
green room show, and I was talking a little bit with you about what you've been doing. What are you doing right now? I mean, through all of this pandemic stuff, are
Okay.
uh, what what are you doing presently that's kind of keeping your chops together? And what's it look
Okay.
for Jimmy Kimmel coming back? And just
Right, right.
yeah.
Well, so right now, the show is still going on. Uh it's called Jimmy Kimmel from his house or
Hmm.
something like that. He's doing the show from his house. Um and so since we've been off, he's been doing the show from his house, and we've been contributing to for the bumpers. So I couldn't say contributing. Contributing. Anyways, we so we've been sending in bumpers like in kind of a Zoom format. Uh, in from So he's doing the show from his house,
Yeah.
or he has been. Now he's off for the summer, and so now we have guest hosts that have
So
been just start the last 2 weeks. So.
are you recording music for the show then, or are you just how are you doing that? Do you have a studio in your house?
So basically, I have a kit set up in my living room. Basically, I just have like an 18-inch kick, a snare, a cymbal, hi hat, and I record on my phone. We all record on our phone, but it's just like kind of soft jazz with brushes. They're kind of mostly like swing stuff that Jeff Babco, our keyboard player, is
Yeah.
writing. So they wanted to keep it kind of on a, I don't know, more like a loungy kind of like low key kind of thing instead of like high energy, because Jimmy's been doing the show from his house. So
Yeah.
um, so what happens is Jeff will send us a scratch track with keyboard and a click, and then I'll just play over that his scratch, and that's what everybody does. So
Okay.
they send that in, and then he puts it all together, and then it looks like we're playing together.
Fascinating. And you just use
Yeah,
your phone for that?
we're all just using our phones. Yeah, like
Wow.
just setting it up, and it actually sounds surprisingly good.
One thing that has happened through all of this pandemic, we were talking, will we talk about the pandemic? And of course, that's the
Yeah,
first thing out of my mouth. But the one thing that's been happening is when it started, a lot of guys hadn't paid any attention to having something ready to go at home. And now all of a
right,
sudden, everybody's having to learn to do it and
right.
learn recording techniques and everything. And what seems to be really interesting is sometimes going back to an old school way of just putting a mic up in the room works
Right.
as good as close miking everything. And I'm surprised that just a cell phone just
Yeah.
it can actually work and come off really well.
Yeah, it does. I was quite surprised myself. And it just kind of works. Then again, like we're just kind of playing just real quiet, like, and I've mostly just been playing brushes, swing
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah.
If you used your sticks and really started whacking on them, the microphone on the phone might get a little distorted.
Yeah, I've done that too. I sent out some like rock stuff to our guitar player, and it seemed to work pretty good actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, whatever works, I guess.
Yeah. So you've been doing the Jimmy Kimmel show, and this is something we were just talking about. I don't know you real well, so I only know you from the Kimmel show and the stuff around town. And you were saying you're kind of low key. You've been doing the Jimmy Kimmel show for how many years now?
This is our 18th year, 18th season.
And
Yeah.
that's a really long run. And
Yeah.
um, you, so I know you do some other gigs around town, but uh,
Sure.
one that I think that you play with is Cecilia Noel. and the Wild Clans.
Yeah,
You
right.
it,
That's funny you say that because that's how we kind of the guys in the band from the Kimmel Show. That's how we met playing on her gig
really,
years ago. I played with her in the mid '90s, like at the Baked Potato,
yeah.
and that's the first time I met um, our band leader Cleto and guitarist Toshi Yanagi and Jimmy Earl, our bassist, and Jeff Babko, our keyboard player.
So
Um,
when did you get to L? When did you? I know you and Bernie are brothers. Somebody
right,
asked me, "Is Jonathan? Is that Bernie's brother?" I'm like, "Yeah, the name is spelled the same."
right.
But you had a little bit different of a route getting to LA than Bernie.
True, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so as a kid, and this is what I wanted to ask: what did you want to play drums as you grew up because you were younger than Bernie? Did you want to play drums because of him, or what led you to wanting to be a drummer?
Well, our parents forced us into it. No, I'm kidding. You know what happened was my brother started playing first. He's 6 years older than me, so he started playing and started taking lessons, snare drum lessons first.
Yeah.
Um, and then I saw him doing it, and it just looked like fun. And I was like, well, I'll try. I'll give that a shot, you know. And so we had the same first teacher from Robert Bedell. So um, he was a great teacher and really made us concentrate on just snare drum, rudimental drumming. And so that's how we started off. And like I said, I saw him doing it and it looked like fun. I was like, well, I'd like to try that. So I did.
So was it easy? Do you think it was easier because he had all of the stuff was already there, and you had somebody that you could kind of follow in it? If you
Yeah.
choose a different instrument, oh, then you got to go get a different instrument, and but the drums were already there.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, the thing with Bernie is he's always been kind of like a mentor to me. Like I
Hmm.
always, through the years, I know we're starting off kind of at a young age here,
Yeah.
but like he went to college first and he had all this information and he was like giving me stuff to listen to and, and would go watch him play and so he's always been, uh, like a mentor. Although he tried to give me a lesson once and it didn't work out very good. It lasted about 7 minutes, I think.
What,
And we're like,
what, how did he say? Oh, you got to do it this way. Hold your sticks this way. Um, so did what? Why did you go to university? I know you went to the Miami University.
yeah, University of Miami, right, in Florida. Yeah.
What made you choose there?
Well, what happened was, see, my brother went to Eastman, and when he was going to Eastman, I basically, you know, he's 6 years older, so he gets into college. I'm in seventh grade, and he's basically, giving me all these records, Wayne Shorter, Miles Davis, telling me to listen to all these great drummers. I didn't know, like our first, everybody's first drummer, like they love Buddy Rich, so that happened, but then when he went to Eastman, he um, he got hip to all these other drummers, and so he said, he would send me tapes of records, and some records, but mostly tapes of records. He would tape the records, cassette tapes, and then give them to me, and then I would listen to that and play along with that. So I was in seventh grade, and then eighth grade, and then so he was going through college, and then I'm getting into high school, and then I ended up going up there for they have like a summer high school program, Eastman. So I went
Mhm.
up there in the summer, a couple summers. So that's sort of how it happened, with that. And so he went to Eastman, and he had a bunch of people with uh, colleagues that went to both to like a lot of people they'll go to Miami for their grad or they'll go undergrad. Like at the time it was like North Texas State, Eastman, or University of Miami. Um, and so that was like the choice. I actually got accepted to go to Eastman, but then I chose to go to Miami because I wanted to, I wanted to kind of concentrate on drum set more, and it's a lot warmer there.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like cold weather either. Well, I didn't know that University of Miami had a good music program. I wasn't aware of that. I was just thought they had a good football team.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, they had a great football team, but at the time it was one of the top. There was North Texas,
Yeah,
and then of course, I mean, Berkeley, and there was other schools.
yeah.
But um, when I went when I went to Miami, I ended up, I at a young age, I ended up getting into like the first big band, like my sophomore year. So then I ended up playing with guys that were like 5 years older than me. They're like grad students, as well as younger,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
students too. So
yeah.
that helped me out a lot when I went to school there. Getting to play with other, great players.
And the was there, because it's Miami, was there any outside influences of any kind of salsa or any of that kind of thing around?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, I my first the first time that I kind of got into Latin jazz and all that was my brother, because when he was going to school, I
Hmm.
kind of learned about that. But then when I went to Miami, there's a huge salsa scene there, and also the school, it was really influenced by that at the time, Latin music.
Hmm.
That's where a lot of the people that were in Gloria Estefan's band
Yeah.
went to school there, and just lived in the Miami, and there was a huge salsa scene, but at the time there wasn't that many. It was mostly just percussion that
Did,
the percussionists were playing with the salsa bands. So I
yeah,
didn't really get to play with any like salsa bands so much,
I
but I
see.
did. I did. There was an influence from people that were that grew up there, and then I listened to it, and I kind of learned a lot of it. And also my teacher, Steve Rucker, that was the professor. He's still the professor at the University of Miami. He hit me to a lot of that style of drumming.
Well, the other question I have, because what some people don't know, unless you're a drummer, that being a percussionist or playing all those other instruments is completely different than playing a set drummer, being a set drummer.
Right.
And if I never really wanted to learn that, because if I put a bongo in front of myself and says, "Oh, you play percussion?" No, I don't. I just want
Right.
set drummer. So it sounds like you really wanted to just play the set, and you
Yeah.
kind of wanted to learn the stuff, but that's a whole different bag, right?
Yeah, it is, and like my brother, he can do both, and so
Mm.
he's great at both. But he shedded both styles,
Right.
being a percussionist, and classical percussionist, and a drum set player too.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of just went into the one area, Although I had to play the at the Kimmel show. I had to play a conga part with. They needed a conga player, and they were like, "Hey, can you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." And it was Huey Lewis and Joe Cocker, and I had to play the part
Really?
like it was a simple part, and I was like, "Man, I'm nailing this." In the sound check, I got this. I'm grooving. Then I came to the when it was time for the show, and like my hands were killing me. I was like, ah. But I
Oh,
got through it. I got through it.
oh, that's
So
funny.
yeah, when percussionists play congas and use their hands, they build up um, chops to be able to do that. So I just stick with the sticks.
Yeah, yeah, it's easier. The one time if I hit a conga the correct way, the knuckles just seem to shatter. They just feel like bone shock. If you hit
Right? Yeah, that's what
it
I was
just right,
feeling.
man, I don't know how those guys do it, and they hit those things hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
no
So
doubt.
when you got out of college, then did you always sort of think, "Hey, I'm going to go to LA"? Bernie was already here, right? In Los Angeles.
He kind of did the same thing as I did. As soon as he graduated college, he moved right to LA like immediately. Um, and I did the same thing. Um, I mean, there was a point where I was even thinking of just moving to LA before going to college, but I was
Hmm.
like, I think it'd be good to get get my stuff together first before I try to move to try to be a professional drummer. So that's what I did. But yeah, so as soon as I graduated in 1990, not to date myself, but way back then, I moved to Burbank, California.
Oh, so
Uh,
that's where I live. Where'd you live in
yeah.
Burbank?
So
Where?
I moved in with my brother,
Okay.
and yeah, and he had a townhouse there, and I lived with him for 3 years. So and back then we had answering machines and pagers.
Right.
That was so he was kind of showing me the ropes, and plus living there with him, uh, if a gig came in, and he couldn't do it, well, my brother's here, so that's kind of how I got my start.
Yeah.
So I lived with him for 2 or 3 years, and then I kind of moved out, and we
Hmm.
went on from there.
And so, what was one of the first gigs you got when you got to LA?
Oh God, I think that a band called the Pocket Rockets. It was like a blues band. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
with Kurt Rasmussen, who's a percussionist, uh, who played with Paul Anka, and he does, I think, one of the Cirque shows in Vegas.
Hmm.
Although now I don't know, they kind of folded now, I guess, right? The Cirque du
Oh,
Soleil.
and,
But
yeah.
anyways, so yeah, that was one of the first gigs. I mean, I'm talking about the very first gig where, hey, go do a gig. But really, shortly after that, I started subbing for Bernie with Keiko Matsui. Um,
Nice.
so if he couldn't make it or whatever, then I would come and fill in for him. Uh, so that was one of the first groups where we'd go out and tour and do
Mhm.
jazz festivals and whatnot. And so that was like through the mid, that's early '90s. Yes,
Yeah. Well,
played with
then,
her and yeah,
and she still tours around, and I'm not sure if is Dennis was Dennis Moody the sound guy for her. He's been the sound guy for her for years.
yeah. I think yeah, I think he still works with her a little bit, and and
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, there were many different sound guys and tour managers
Sure.
for
And
her, but yeah.
so, when was the first time you played at the Baked Potato? And I mention this because of all of the cool places to play, not being from California, there was a couple of iconic jazz clubs, and the only one that's still around is the Baked Potato. And
Sure, yeah.
what do you remember the first gig you did there? Did it feel like, oh man, this is where like everybody plays? Did you think anything like?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean it was a definite hang. It was they have like the bar area there. It's a very small club, but it's an iconic place. And a lot of the musicians would hang out kind of in the back behind the bar there, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I mean, I guess one of the first gigs I did there was probably with Cecilia Noel and the Wild Clams. Probably. I mean, I can't. I think I might have played one gig with Frank Gambale there, but that was later.
Hmm.
And then I used to play with Don Randy,
Yeah,
who, yeah, he and his son, they both have been owners of the club, or they own the club, and
right.
so I played with Don there a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the first band I ever saw there, where I was like, wow, these guys are really like good, was with Steve Lukather and what was the band? It wasn't Charisma. I think it was the other. What was the can't think of the name of the band right now. But anyways, I mean, yeah, I would go hang out there and kind
Yeah.
of try to meet people and whatnot, and
Um,
saw a lot of great music there, basically.
yeah. So you got the gig with Cecilia, and how did that come about? Because that then you were saying led to getting the Kimmel gig.
Right. Well, basically, Alan Daramo, he recommended me to sub for Tristan Bowden, who was Tris was, you know, was the drummer on the gig at the time, and at
Right.
the early '90s.
Mhm.
Uh, and so then I just started subbing, for Tris, and Alan recommended me. So that's how I kind of started, you know, with Cecilia, and then my brother came on later, and I ended up recommending him, like, hey, you should try my brother, be great, and then he stole the gig from me. What can I tell you? No, I can't.
That's funny. I think the first time I heard Cecilia, I think Bernie was playing,
Yeah,
and my friend Eric Jorgensen, trombone player,
right,
Eric said, "Well, Bernie's just the sub," and I'm going like, "Holy shit! Oh, he's just the sub."
right. He still is.
Yeah. Uh, so,
Yeah.
what other gigs were you doing around town before you got the Kimmel gig? You were just
Yeah.
doing sort of a circle of gigs. Were there some others that were
So yeah, so right around, I guess around '95, I went on the road with a singer named Savory, and we did like maybe a year with him, a year and a half, and Toshi Yanagi was on the gig, and Jeff Babko, our keyboard
Hmm.
player. So I played. We ended up kind of opening up for Sheryl Crow and Bryan Adams, and going to Europe on tours and stuff. But then shortly after that, I ended up working with John Waite.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was somewhere around, I'd like to say like 97, I think, or something. And then so I toured with John from, doing summer tours and whatnot from, I'd say, 97 up until when the Kimmel gig came up, which was 2003. So I
Yeah.
worked with John Wade for like around 6 years.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah,
So the Kimmel gig, when that came out, and you got offered the gig and started doing it,
sure.
what did it feel like? Because as a musician, a lot of times it's always working on getting the next gig,
Right.
sometimes. So when a steady gig like that comes up, what did it, were you like, oh my God, it's a,
Well, when it came up, I was like, this is great. I mean, this is one of these once in a lifetime opportunities that come up that man, a steady gig in town,
right? Yeah.
and I'm like, how does that happen? But then again, like a lot of shows, they last like a year, if that. You
Right.
never know. So um, we're very fortunate that it was when it came up, it was like great. This could be good. Um, but nobody had ever done like a late night show. I mean, as far as like Jimmy Kimmel putting together a late night show, this is he was kind of learning as he went along. Um, and so, after 2 or 3 years, we are like, well, this seems pretty solid. This is going well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a pretty good feeling, and I was very, I'm very lucky to be able to play with these musicians, every every day basically.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I'm lucky in that respect.
Well, then over the 18-year run, though, you've seen the show sort of change and you've watched Jimmy grow and everything. And
Sure.
and I know when I first started watching the show, I didn't really get his humor, you know,
Hmm.
but I do now. And
Right.
um, the over the years, you've also you watched it change, but you've been able to perform and get to meet almost everybody and
Yeah.
as actor and as musicians. So of all of those, who did you enjoy? I don't know, this is almost like a dumb
Yeah.
fan question. Like, who was your favorite person to
Right.
behind, that kind of thing. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's got to be some pretty cool moments.
Well, the biggest challenge I'd say of doing the show is when they have people sit in with us,
Mm,
because the artists that come in, and we've had so many different artists come in and sit in with us, they're not used to. this kind of situation where like they're used to having their own band. They come in and basically, we have a half hour to, or whatever it is, half hour, 45 minutes to rehearse the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're kind of out of their comfort zone too. So the challenge is trying to make them feel comfortable. Um, it's a lot different. Like when you go out to commercial, when you come back, there's no ending. It's just boom, that's the end of the song.
Yeah.
So, and also like the forms of the song, they're used to doing them live. A lot of times we don't get like the information, early. It'll be like the day before. So you have 6 songs to learn. So you just chart out a chart as best you can. Try to find the live versions if you can on YouTube or whatnot. Um, and you know, we've had instances where people will come on and they're like, "Oh, we forgot, we got to sit in today," and we're like on the stage, like
Oh, no.
charting out and everybody's got their headphones on. They're charting out charts. Everybody's in their own world, and then somehow we pull it together and make it happen. So that being a quick study is a very good thing to be able to do in this kind of situation, because without being able to do it quickly and being able to produce quickly, then you're kind of
You,
it's not going to happen.
you really got to think on your feet like really quickly sometimes, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Do you ever
Yeah.
get thrown a chart? Okay, wait a minute. We got to play this song. This one's coming up, and we'll just count you in. Does stuff like that happen?
Yeah, it does. A lot of stuff happens on the fly, and we can we have microphones, so we're all in ear monitors.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk to each other and whisper to each other in the microphones
Oh,
about changes that are coming. Because a lot of times they'll change acts. Like, okay, we're going to Act 5, so we gotta like scramble. Like, wait, what is that? You know what I mean? So yeah.
and during the
They can change very quickly.
right, and when you're taping and you're going to, they go to commercial. No, it's live, right?
It's not, it's taped. It's called Jimmy Kimmel Live. We used to, when the show first started, it was live. There was like a 10-second delay, but like a bad word went out.
Uh,
And so that this, the censors, they they don't like that.
yeah,
So they decided to tape it. But basically, they if we screw up, they don't really care. They're not going to go back and do something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It'd have to be a really really bad thing. They basically shoot the show all the way through. Like they do like commercial breaks, like it's a commercial break. They time it out like that, and then they treat it like it's live. Basically,
Right.
they will edit certain little things if they have to.
Hmm.
But for us, there's not really. You kind of you what you see and hear is what you get, basically.
Yeah. So a commercial, when they go to commercial break, you guys start playing a song and you
Right.
play until they come back from the commercial
We
break.
play normally we play all the way through. Yeah. Um, the only time is sometimes they have to stop down. Like Jimmy will talk to the audience, if he wants to talk to the audience after you know, the first commercial break or whatever. They'll do
That
that. But generally, we're there to kind of keep the audience engaged and up and like with energy, because they want it to they want an energized crowd. So
yeah,
we're there to keep the energy going.
yeah,
That's kind of one of our main uh, purposes. But
yeah.
going back to like when I'd have to say you were asking me like who are some of your favorite people that sat
Yeah.
in or whatever. There's been a lot. The most challenging was probably when the Tower Power Horns section sat in.
Mm.
That was pretty. If I didn't study that music like when I was going to school, I would have been like it wouldn't have been happening. Uh, we've had a lot of different people. Michael McDonald. I really enjoy playing with him. And then sometimes we back people up on the main stage too, when they need a backup band. So
And the main stage is completely different than the studio.
Right. There's three different stages, basically. Is it three different? Yeah. There's the lobby stage,
Hmm.
and then there's the outdoor kind of rock and roll or like large venue concert kind of stage. And so people will come. They'll get tickets just to go see the show out there because they'll put on like a mini concert a lot of times. Like they'll do 5 or 6 songs. Like they'll tape two for the show, but then since they're there and you have like it's like a they give
Right.
like it's kind of like a free show, for, you know, and they'll play 5 or 6 songs or how many 7 songs or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they have the studio stage where they'll they'll do stuff from there.
Yeah.
That's
And
when I got a side hug from Bono.
you really how
They were performing there, and so we're sitting there watching them, and then we got
yeah.
walking out, and so I got a little hug from him. They were all very nice.
Yeah. I've never really quite got the whole U2 thing.
Hmm.
I don't get the mystique around them, and I'm the same thing with David Matthews.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
I get more like the Tower of Power horns for me. Uh,
Right.
you know, just because that was the music that I grew up listening to, and
Right.
I got to mix monitors for Tower for like 10 days last fall, and I
Oh,
could
really? Okay.
and I was standing, next to Emilio, I'm mixing the monitors and I'm going nuts because I'm such a fan.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And the
Did he
U2 guy,
yell at you? No, I'm just kidding.
well, yeah, I got some looks,
Yeah.
which when you get a look from Emilio, it's like you yell. It
Right.
feels like a yell. It's like,
Yeah. I don't know. Usually that's a tough position in any. The monitors are the tough is a tough one for when 'cause
yeah.
they make
Do you,
everybody happy and whatnot.
oh, do you guys have monitor guys on the show?
We
I mean,
do. We yeah. We have a monitor guy. Um,
and is he able to talk to you in your ears?
yeah, he talks to us from. Yeah, he has a station behind us, and he talks to us. Like he has this mixing board back there,
Yeah.
and so we don't have our own little mix. He kind of just mixes it for us, and we'll say, "Hey, we need this," or "Can you give
Yeah.
me that?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does he tell you jokes or anything during the show? Does any kind of that
Well,
make
well, there has been some banter going on with the band.
you you know um a couple of times I've done some shows where I get on a headset. I'm the sound guy, but I have to listen to the lighting guys and the camera guys, and they'll start talking crap, and I'm like, you guys shut up. I'm trying to trying to mix the band. Shut up.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes when guys uh not that anybody doesn't care about their job or get lazy or anything, but once you've done it for 18 years, some things become so second nature that you're doing working being really good, but you start talking and just there's a little banter that goes on. Is that
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
felt?
we're all pretty much full of shit, the band. So there's a lot of banter, a lot of you got to have tough skin,
Yeah.
really. But it's
Do,
all in good fun. We're like the band. We're kind of like a family. Like we've been there for 18 years, and we spent so much time together. You know, we know each other. Pretty well.
yeah.
And then we all get along and we still have a great time. And like Cleto's dad is in the band, our band leader, and he's hilarious. And he's kind of it's great having him in the band because he's a real crack up. And he and his son are it's a great story, because they lived in Vegas and they grew up across the street from Jimmy Kimmel. Basically, Cleto and Jimmy were like childhood friends.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
Yeah, and so his dad, like Jimmy would come over and like turn on Letterman, and his dad was like, "Yeah, watch that over here," and so his dad was is a real is just a great guy and just a funny guy, and so it's great having him there, in the band.
Yeah. What's the story behind Jimmy has a lot of his family. kind of come in and around. Is
Yeah.
that he's just kind of like just likes it that way, right? He likes the family atmosphere a little bit.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, he has family that has talent. So it's not like he's like, hey, let's give this guy a job. Like his cousin Sal, like the guy is hilarious and he's super talented.
Yeah,
Um, and so he wouldn't be there if he wasn't, good at what he
right.
and then Uncle Frank, he was hilarious
Yeah.
until he passed away. But he was like kind of a sidekick like Guillermo until he passed away. Um,
You
and so Jimmy kind of he sees the talent in people, and he wants them to be on the show because it's going to improve the show. You know.
I just got this great idea. So, they could have a segment with you and Bernie could be your sidekick.
Yeah, I'd make him like really short though.
you, you know, because Bernie's into the little the puppeteer thing. You could have
You
him
mean
set.
ventriloquism?
Yeah, you could sit him there and and use him as like a little thing. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't think he'd like that so much. He'd want me to be the ventriloquist doll.
Oh, okay,
He's
but
good. He's pretty good. Like he thinks he's really good. I mean, I've got some skills, but he really kind of. Remember, we had the ventriloquist dolls. Everybody, it's hilarious because everybody, ventriloquist dolls are like kind of creepy. And so I had a couple here. They were like sitting up in my closet. My wife's like, "Get rid of those," because they're like up there.
it feels like they're looking at you.
Yeah, they are a little creepy. But I mean, he is a heck of a ventriloquist. I have to admit, like the way his lips don't move. It's incredible.
I got. But has he ever subbed for you on the Kimmel show?
He has, yeah. He has sub for me.
And
I don't know if it like once or twice, maybe. Maybe I'm not sure, but he has. Yeah, he has done it.
have you missed many shows?
Not that many.
Uh,
Not that many. I haven't missed that many. I've been there pretty much the whole time. Um, there's been a couple cases where I had to miss.
yeah,
But yeah, it's kind of rare for me to
it
miss.
doesn't seem like many of the guys in the band miss either. They're all pretty consistent, right?
Pretty consistent. Our keyboard player, he's also a musical director for Martin Short, so he'll go out and sometimes with James Taylor,
Mm,
and also our guitar player Toshi. He'll
right.
you know he'll go do some, but it's kind of it's not that long. It's for like a week or two or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
So
one day I was driving down Moore Park Avenue, and it occurred to me that this guy Alex Budman, this sax player, was playing at this
yeah,
place.
I know Alex. Yeah,
Yeah, was playing at the Oyster House, right?
yeah,
And so, and this was like in 2009 or 10 or something. And I go in and oh my God, I mean, Alex is there and Jerry Brown is playing drums, uh,
hmm
Jeff is playing keyboards. And they're in there just like playing for beers and burgers. I'm going, wow,
yeah. I played there before.
uh, yeah. I mean, it's
I was
just
kind of one of the first people to play there. I was like, we should
re-
put the band in there. Then everybody started playing there.
what what was the gig like when you played there the first time?
Well, I know the Oyster House very well because we used to actually go there after the show, and that was kind of our hang. You
Really?
know, yeah. I met my wife there actually.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, but when we got married, the priest said it was a quaint bistro,
It,
a corner bistro.
a quaint bistro. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Just,
she had never been in there before, and we used to go hang out there. Um, and then she just kind of walked in there one night, and I was sitting there, and I had a Steelers jersey on. So we're both from the Pittsburgh area, so that's how we kind of met.
so was that the conversation piece? The Pittsburgh Steelers? Was that what?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
And
lucky for me, I had my jersey on that day. I'd probably still be single.
so is she was she an out here in the industry somehow or
No, she just lived out here. Was you know had moved out here, wanted to move to LA, kind of thing. She's not a musician. She loves music though.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I've does it work better having a non-musician as a wife, do you think?
I don't know. I've never had a musician as a wife.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
Oh man. So how long have you been married now?
Okay, so we've been married since 2008.
Oh, that's the same
Man, you're
year.
putting me on the spot here, Jeff.
Oh man, it's a tough
I had to
question.
think for a second.
Yeah. Well, so we can maybe edit out anything. No, it's too late. It's already on the
Nah,
air.
don't edit it.
It's too
Nah,
late. And
just none live. Just
yeah, how many kids do you have?
I got two.
Two
I
kids.
have a 7-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. Yeah, yeah.
And how is it going for not being in school?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been tough, but we've been adapting. Um, I was turned into a first grade teacher uh, because we haven't been able to shoot the show since I don't know how long it's been, but what was it? When did everything shut down? Like the
March.
first week of March, right?
Yeah, my last gig was March 14th. And
Yeah,
that day it's like everything fell like dominoes. Like it's closed.
yeah. So, anyways, the school that they go to, they did an online thing where all of a sudden I was, my daughter is pretty good. She's 10 years old,
Yeah.
and she was in third grade. Wait, she was in fourth grade at the time,
Yeah.
and so she was kind of she was able to do a lot of stuff, but like a first grader, um, they need guidance. So I was turned into a first grade teacher for about a half a semester there, and so we'll see what happens with what's coming up here. But yeah, but it went pretty good.
I
They
my
said I was the world's best teacher
Oh, that
to my
fantastic.
kids. Yeah.
And that's the best. The best, like, geez, Dad, can you just be our teacher from here on out?
I don't know. I think they want that.
You know,
I was like a drill sergeant. I was
really?
like,
Oh,
well, no, not really, but it's hard for them. They're out of their comfort zone, and they're not used to. I mean, there's a lot of temptation with being at home when you're doing the homeschooling thing. There's when you're in school, you're in a classroom, and it's a setting. Here, there's like too much. There's a lot of more. There's a lot more temptation to distractions, whatnot.
right. And what my daughter's going to be 15. She's going to be a sophomore in high school. And
Hmm.
she's pretty good about herself. But I kind of feel like as a parent for the younger kids, when she was younger, I had to make sure that there were specific times that she would pay attention to doing her homework. Otherwise, she just wouldn't get it done. You know,
Right.
so as a parent, then is your wife able? Is she working or no? Or are
She
you?
does. She works part time, so she's able to help out too, and
Okay.
she's been working from home basically part time during
Yeah,
the whole pandemic. So,
yeah,
but
and
so together we've been able to kind of piece it together and make it work so far,
yeah, um, and it doesn't
and
look
we
like.
haven't killed each other.
That's always a good sign. If nobody's come out like with bruises and bludgeoned with
Yeah, no doubt.
no fights.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and she lets you set the drums up in the living room and do the little recording.
Yeah, yeah. I'd set them up in the living room and
Yeah.
do it in there because it looks nicer. I try to make it look kind of nice. I
Uh,
set it up in the living room there, and there's a
yeah.
piano there. My
Are you,
brother's piano.
is it really?
Yeah.
Um, have you thought about putting in the studio though at all now during this?
Right. Yeah. I thought about it,
Do
but
you
I haven't tackled that monster yet.
is the has the Kimmel show are they in touch with you guys about okay, we don't know what we're going to do, but we might have this plan or we're going to maybe change this based on things. Any idea at the end of summer whether you guys will come back and do some shows or remotely do shows?
Yeah, we don't know anything yet. All we
Mm,
know is, Jimmy's he's taking the summer off. He's been planning on taking. He's been doing this for 18 years, so
yeah.
he's planning on kind of taking the summer off the next 3 summers, and
Mm,
so they're going to have guest hosts. When we're going back into the studio, I don't know. They haven't told us that yet, and
yeah.
I'd hate. I don't really have any idea. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of it probably has to do with how this goes the next 6 weeks, and
Yeah.
if people decide they want to wear masks or not.
It's crazy because we were asked to close up, or not asked, we were told by the governor to close everything down. And yet I drove down Sunset Boulevard on Wednesday night at 9 o'clock and restaurants were packed. And
Really?
I was shocked. I thought they were supposed to be closed.
Yeah,
And
I didn't. Wow, I didn't.
they,
That's
they were
just
open.
kind of crazy.
That little
Now,
area.
is it the outdoor part? Because I don't even know if they're allowed to do that
Well,
anymore.
they're outdoors. They were outdoors, but there were a couple of them that had people inside as well. With
Right.
on Sunset Boulevard, they can raise up the glass or whatever it is and open it up, so the indoors can sort of be outdoors too.
Right.
So for people sitting inside, but to me, it just felt uncomfortable.
I would imagine that, you know, they're going to start, if they don't, they're going to start fining people and whatever.
I was kind of shocked because Burbank is this little tiny, like, it 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 it's a little bubble, man. It's like
Right.
Burbank. um Everybody's kind of stays to themselves, and nobody's going out, everybody's wearing masks. People look at
Yeah.
me weird when I stand in my lawn and water the yard without a mask on. They look at me weird, like, put your mask
Oh,
on.
really? Yeah. I think you can take it off on your lawn, but
Well, I went for a bicycle ride down my street, and there was a couple sitting on their porch with masks on, and I thought
Mhm.
that was a little goofy, personally.
Yeah, I don't know if you need to do that. And
Yeah,
but if you're going to be near people that you're not used to being near to,
yeah, yeah.
I
This
would
is
say put it on.
Yeah, it's really crazy. So, uh, uh, I was watching a video of you playing drums, and it was really interesting because it was a Vic Firth thing, and you were showing
Hmm.
them around the studio, and I thought you were talking about your drum workshop, uh, your new set of drums, and you've got a 24-inch kick, and,
Hmm.
and this is what I thought. You reached the cymbal, and you said, yeah, and I think this is a Zildjian. And I'm like,
I'm not much of a you know um, drum equipment knowledgeable kind of. What am I playing? I just kind of it sounds good.
Jonathan, that makes me feel so good because Bernie is complete opposite. He's like
Oh, he knows, yeah.
he's sort
Talk
of
to
a
him about edges on drums.
no, no. I wouldn't be able to do it. I couldn't stand it. So I, we're getting close to we've been talking 50 minutes, believe it or not. We're getting close
Okay.
to an hour. But I want to tell you, I am not a guy that knows anything about drums, really. I like to play drums.
Hmm.
I always played up until I started doing sound. And I had this gig in San Jose at the San Jose Fairmont, and it was the lobby lounge, and I had my little Yamaha set, and we were sitting, and this guy comes over and sits down next to me in a chair, and he's watching me play.
Okay.
And we finish, and he goes, come over, sit down. And I sit down. He goes, those look like the Yamaha 9-ply birch, blah, blah, blah. And,
Mm.
and like, he knows all about the drones. And I just kind of looked at him and said, yeah, man, like, I don't really know. I just buy them, and I like how they sound. And yeah, I don't really know. And he goes, yeah, thank you for that. He goes, my name's
Yeah.
Russ. My name's Russ. And let me tell you, and he starts, and I'm starting to get annoyed with the guy because he knows so much. And I'm like, dude,
Oh,
I
right, 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 right.
then he goes, hey, well, nice talking to you. I see Stevie's walking in, and I got to go. And I look up, and it was Stevie Nicks. And
Ah.
all of a sudden I'm thinking, Russ, I'm fuck. Oh, it's Russ Kunkel. It's Russ Kunkel. And
Oh yeah,
my face turned
yeah.
beet red, and I ran up there like, dude, I'm so sorry. I just had no idea. He goes, no, that's okay. I didn't, it's okay. It's all good. But
Sure.
it's nice to know because many times I felt like because I was a drummer and didn't really know anything about drums, just that I like to play them, I always felt,
Right.
maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I need to know something about these things.
You don't really. You don't. You don't. I mean, you can.
Yeah,
You gotta. I mean, maybe you know a little bit, but
a little.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I know I know enough to make them sound good.
Well, that's all you need. As long as they sound good, that's the important part.
Oh, Bernie, he looks tall. I'm reading. Bernie just commented on something
Oh, he
about.
did.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know if he's saying that you look tall based on the camera angle. I'm not sure what he's saying.
I am. I'm way taller than he is. He didn't know that. He doesn't know that. When we were growing up, he or whatever. We'd always do the back to back thing.
Uh-huh.
I'm a little bit taller than him, and he'd always try to get up on his tippy toes so he could.
Uh,
Yeah,
it,
he's a cheater.
that's what it is. Okay. Did people always guess you older because you were
I'm
tall?
sorry. That what?
Did people guess that you were older because you were taller?
No, I don't think so. No,
No, no.
no. I mean, I remember going into I did this casual once, and the guitar player's like, "Oh, is Bernie your dad?"
That's funny. Oh man.
I
Oh
was I was no, he's my brother. He's my
yeah,
brother.
yeah, yeah. Well, I kind of out of anything that I want to know about the Jimmy Kimmel show, and we've
Yeah.
talked about the pandemic, we've talked about drums, we've talked about wives and kids, and well,
Yeah.
no, I don't have a wife, so I'm kind of good that way these days.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, but anything else? Any other parting wisdom that we want to share with any drum fans we have about how to get a gig and keep it?
How to get a gig and keep it. I would say play good.
That
Yeah.
helped.
I mean, really, I think people are interested in just groove.
Yeah,
If especially if the music calls for it, you know, don't worry about flashy chops and all that. That's great when the time is right, of course. But mainly, people want to. My whole thing has always been try to make it feel good, and try to play. Make it groove with a pocket and make everybody happy. Because that's the function as a drummer is really you're the backbone. You're supposed to be there for everybody, and make it happen.
my guess is based on the show, your job. I'm just asking, isn't
Yeah.
it? You kind of are the cement to make everything hold together and keep the energy going.
Sure, and a lot of times, Cleto will point to me. Wait, he'll point to me.
Yeah,
He points, and then I'll come in with a shakatoon, or what we
yeah,
call the indugu, the shun dun dun ga-un. Because
yeah.
there's no time to really count the song off. So sometimes it starts with the guitar or keyboard, um, but mostly it's the drums that start. So I'll get the tempo I mark down all the tempos, and I
Mhm.
have a Dr. Beat, so I know what the tempo is supposed to be. I just get the tempo of what the song's supposed to be, and I come in with shakatoon, and so then they're in on one. So yeah, they kind of they rely on me to
And
95% of the time be have the right thing.
right, and you can make almost. It's up to the drummer to kind of make all the endings sound like they've ended.
Yeah, well, we all end at the same time. He just cuts off the band, you know.
Oh, that
Um,
makes it easy.
yeah, but yeah, it's definitely you know, everybody does their part,
Yeah.
but yeah, as far as you know, they are relying on the drums to 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 make sure that we're off to a flying start,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
right start, you know.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, I so appreciate you hanging out with me and having this interview. I mean, it was just fun getting to know you.
I'm so I'm so thankful that you had me on your show, and I appreciate that you actually care about me. Because
Well, you know, I I'm interested in musicians and what we do for a living, and I'm a fan, especially of anything that anyone in our business does. And
right,
I try to be respectful of everybody and what they do, and in many ways, I do care about musicians and how we're going to make a living moving forward from here, because it's sort
sure,
of precarious time.
it definitely is,
Yeah.
and I
So,
think what everybody's just sort of learning as we go along how we're
yeah,
going to do this,
yeah,
and you know, eventually it's going to go away. We hope,
yeah,
and and hopefully we'll be back to normal, and people can go out and see live music, and everybody can't wait till that time. It's just that
sure,
I think we have. It's hard to be patient when, you know, people have to make, you know, they have to live their lives and
yeah,
make money and all that. So,
yeah. Well, until then, we're learning how to be teachers.
right. First grade teachers.
First grade teachers. You know,
Yeah.
in a year from now, I'll be okay. We're talking to uh, first grade teacher Jonathan Dresel.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be a second grade. Well, you'll be second grade by then. A
Yeah.
year from
My son will be going to second grade. Yeah.
yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I'm going to take us out with a little bit more of my new Wayne Bergeron play on play out music because it's cool.
Yeah. It sounded
Yeah,
great.
yeah, and thank you again for joining me and hanging out and putting up with my knuckleheadedness
I had
and
a great time, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you. And you know, good luck in the future. And thank you so much. Appreciate it.
thanks, Jonathan. Here we
All right.
go.